Page 621, continuing lesson 10.2 on simplifying radicals. If we look at problem 4, there's a rectangular door in a museum that's 3 times as tall as it is wide. What is a simplified expression for the maximum length of a painting that fits through the door? So the book didn't really, well, they did it over here kind of, but for sure somewhere with that information I would draw a picture showing the rectangle, showing the height is 3 times what the width is. And then they're asking for a simplified expression for the maximum length of a painting that can fit. So the maximum length would be, instead of going straight up and down, if we go diagonally. And if we go diagonally, what we can do is we can create a right triangle. And by creating a right triangle, we can use Pythagorean theorem to figure out the length of the hypotenuse, length of the diagonal there. So Pythagorean theorem, we did a while back. It's actually the section right before this in your book, but that was a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and c was the hypotenuse, which is the longest side, and it's always across from the right angle. The book just is doing this backwards. They're doing like c squared equals a squared plus b squared, and that works also. So I would probably have this switched around, the left and the right sides from what they have, but it's not a big deal. It's just fine how they have it. So they did D for the diagonal, I guess. So that's on the side by itself. 3W, when you square that, remember this is like 3W times 3W, so that would be 9W squared. And then these we can add together. That would be 10W squared. And then we take the square root. Technically, when you do square root, you should put plus or minus, even though we know we can't have a negative length for the diagonal of this door. And so at that point, we're going to try to simplify this down. So square root of 10W is technically an answer that would work, but if we try to split it up, W squared is a perfect square, and the square root of W squared is W. And so we've got W times the square root of 10 would be the maximum length. And then they did an estimation here. Square root of 10 doesn't come out evenly. They said it's about 3.16 times the width. That has a little more meaning to us probably than W times the square root of 10. Again, without knowing what W is, we can't really know exactly what that distance is, but it at least gives us an idea of a starting point we can work with. The bottom of the page talks about how we can simplify radical expressions using this property. Basically, the property says if you have a fraction underneath a radical, you can split it up. So let's look at the example with the numbers here. So square root of 36 over 49, we could try to think of what times itself will give us 36 over 49, which would end up being 6/7. But it's probably easier for us to think about it if we split it into 2 separate parts. Also, both parts won't necessarily always come out evenly, so for that reason also it's probably going to be easier to split it. So split it up, numerator and denominator, and then square root of 36 is 6, square root of 49 is 7, and then we've got our 6/7. So problem 5, if you look at part A, they want us to simplify that. So same thing we just looked at. Split it up, numerator and denominator. And then square root of 64 is 8, square root of 49 is 7, so 8/7. And you can just leave it 8/7. It's an improper fraction, but that's okay. If you want to change to 1 1/7, you can. Part B, same idea. We're going to split it up. And then, actually on part B, if you wanted to, they actually divided, since the fraction could be reduced. Since 8 and 50 are both even numbers, they just reduced the fraction, first of all, which got them to this point. And then square root of 4x squared over square root of 25, just split them up individually. Square root of 4 is 2, square root of x squared is x, and square root of 25 is 5. So you can write it like this. A lot of times I'll probably write it as 2/5 x. You can put the x next to it, is a lot of times how that might be written. Just make sure we can tell that the x is next to it and not in the denominator. If you have it in the numerator, since that's where it was, that's fine also. If you didn't reduce the fraction first, then it would just be a little more difficult for you without spending too much time on it. Basically, it would be kind of like we did earlier in the section, where you try to split out your parts that are perfect squares. Actually, they divided by an x also. I didn't see that. So you would try to pull out your perfect square parts, and then what would happen is you would have square root of 2x left, as it wouldn't normally always happen like this, but it would happen on this one. We'd have square root of 2x in the numerator and the denominator, and so we can just reduce by that factor, and then we're basically to the point where the book was anyway. So if we look at the got it 5, same idea. We're trying to simplify these. So part A, like we've been doing, we can go ahead and split that up, numerator and denominator. So square root of 144 is 12, square root of 9 is 3, and then 12 divided by 3 comes out to be 4. Since we were able to reduce this, what that means is we actually could have reduced the fraction first. If you do 144 divided by 9, 1 plus 4 plus 4 is 9. So 144 is divisible by 9. So a different route, probably not the route I would see to do this, but you could have actually divided that out and you would get 16. And then you get square root of 16, which is 4. Again, this is not normally going to be the case that it would divide out that nicely. So this is probably what I would have done. So if we look at part B, so one option here on part B would be to go ahead and split this up. And then after you do that, if you want to try and pull out perfect squares like we did earlier in the section, square root of 36 is 6. Square root of 4a squared would be 2a. So at this point, since these are being multiplied, the square root of a's can cancel, and then we can reduce this. The 6 and the 2 we can reduce by 2, and that would be 3 over a. And like I said, these problems, usually there's multiple ways of doing these. So a different way we could have done this is you could have tried to reduce ahead of time. So 36 and 4, we can divide, that would be 9. And then with the a's, we could cancel out an a and we'd be left with a squared in the denominator. And then if you want to split it up into 2 separate parts, and then we could get 3 over a that way also. Then part C, same idea. We can split this up. There's nothing even that we would have an option of reducing ahead of time. So you can split this up. And then just think about each part as a separate problem. So try to pull out perfect square stuff. And then that's going to be all we can do with this one. If you look at problem 6, what we're looking at in this part is where things don't always come out nicely, and sometimes there might be square roots still left in the problem. And we want to get rid of that. It's not considered simplified if we have a square root in the denominator. So we cannot have a square root in the denominator on our answer. So what this is called, it's called rationalizing the denominator. Okay, that removes the radical in the denominator, basically. So if you look at this on problem 6, part A, what they're doing is neither one of those comes out evenly, but we don't want to keep a square root in the denominator. So what they did is they multiplied the numerator and the denominator by the square root of 7. By doing that, in the denominator we now have square root of 49, and then the square root of 49 is 7. So whatever is in the denominator, basically we multiply by that in the numerator and the denominator, and as long as we multiply the numerator and denominator by the same thing, we're getting an equivalent fraction, so that's perfectly legal. And then if you'll notice, then the answer does not have a square root in the denominator. Same idea if we look at part B. Part B, they tried to go ahead and simplify things first. So the 8, they didn't really show their steps here, but this is kind of the thought process of what they did. And then square root of 4 is 2. In this case, just the 2n is under the square root, so that's why they just multiplied by that. And then they ended up with they kind of skipped a step here again. This would be 2n, and then 2 times 2n is where they got the 4n. And again, it's up to you what you want to do on this. Another option you have, if you didn't simplify anything ahead of time, you could just say, I'm going to multiply by what the denominator was. And if you do that, that would be 8n. In the numerator, we would have to then factor out a 4. And then square root of 4 is 2. And then the 8 and the 4, we could reduce those. And then that would be the same answer then that we got over here. Okay, and again, you might look at that and you might say, well, I think what they did was easier, and that's fine. Just showing you what would happen if you didn't do it that way, that you could still get the answer. So if you look at the got it problems here, we're trying to simplify these. So for part A, we'll probably want to go ahead and rationalize this, get it to where we don't have a square root in the denominator. And once we get to that point, square root of 9 is 3. And we can't do any more with that, so that would be our answer. Part B, if you'll notice on part B, there's actually something we can do in the denominator here. we can split that up. And then again, we don't want to have a square root in the denominator, so we'll have to multiply to get rid of that. One thing you might notice as we've been doing these, we can go ahead and multiply those together. It'd be the square root of 4m squared. And when you take the square root of that, you'll end up getting 2m. So you might notice that if you have two identical radicals and you're multiplying them together, basically you just lose the square root symbol. And kind of a different way of looking at that is it's square root of 2m times square root of 2m. It's square root of 2m squared. And so square root and square cancel each other out. Maybe an easier way to think about why that works. And then at that point, we can multiply those together, and then that would be our answer. We'll look at part C. We can split that up. Again, we don't want a square root in the denominator. And so that's going to be square root of 9, which is 3. If you look at the lesson check, without going through all these, if you'll notice, like on number 1, square root of 98, that's a bigger number. If you're not sure how that would break down, just do a factor tree on it. And it's an even number, so you could just start with that, 2 times something, and then it's 49, and then all of a sudden that's looking pretty good here. I know that was more of a problem like we did yesterday, but just something to think about. Number 30 we're going to look at, and this is just an example of how you may want to try to break these radicals down before you multiply them together. 15 times 75, that would be a pretty big number. So I'm just going to pull out anything that I can that's going to be a perfect square here. Square root of 25 is 5. And then these parts are not under the radical, so if you multiply 2 times 5 is 10 times negative 6 is negative 60s. And then if you multiply these together, that would be square root of 45s. And then square root of 45, 45's got a 9 in it. And that would be our answer then. So this gives you an idea of how to work with simplifying radicals.